Momentous news today out of Washington, D.C. After nearly half a century, the great secular slaughter is over. In a 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court has now said that Roe v. Wade was bad law, that it wrongfully arrogated power to the federal government to prohibit the states from making this decision for themselves. Now, some people out there who are uneducated believe that today abortion was made illegal. Well, because of trigger laws in 13 states, that is true. But it doesn't necessarily do that. But I would like to send out a warning to those of you who are celebrating a little too much. There are consequences for this dead ahead, and it is going to shock a lot of people that this happened 4 months before a midterm. 4 months before a midterm. This is going to start to change people's mind. And on that topic, I'd like to ask my audience a question. If, in the future, at some point, those who are vehemently anti-ballistic weapon were able to somehow repeal the Second Amendment and take it out of the Constitution, would that change your mind about your weapons, about your need for those weapons, about the reasons that you keep those weapons? No. It wouldn't change your mind if the Second Amendment was erased tomorrow. It wouldn't change your mind. And that's exactly what people need to pay attention to about today's ruling. It hasn't changed anyone's mind about abortion, but it has changed people's mind about what's going to happen in 4 months. You see, they have now been given their handmaid's tale moment. They've been talking about this ever since Trump was elected, but now they have their moment where they can say, oh my goodness, the federal government just took a right away from me. And in the case of 13 states, that's been the net effect. The federal government just took a right away from me that I had yesterday. In 13 states, that is the case. This is going to galvanize a group of people that heretofore have been a bit listless and rudderless and without anything to feel good about. U.S. Supreme Court overturns landmark abortion decision. The ruling overturns the 1973 court verdict protecting women's right to an abortion. The Constitution, quote, does not prohibit the citizens of each state from regulating or prohibiting abortion. Roe and Casey arrogated that authority. We now overrule those decisions and return that authority to the people and their elected representatives. Now, that would have been the right ruling then. And now it still is. However, there are going to be consequences, big ones. It's a big win for states' rights. But a lot of people are going to ask the question, only 13 states? Only 13 states? That's right. In fact, on the West Coast, they might go, well, I don't want to say crazy, but they might decide, maybe life doesn't begin until 3 months after. Because now, of course, it's up to the states to determine. If Roe v. Wade is overturned in 2020, this is a map from PBS that talks about all the different things that would occur throughout the center part of the country. Florida just passed a law, by the way, 6 months ago, that, actually not quite 6 months ago, made abortion after 15 weeks illegal. So nothing's going to change in Florida. But this is going to change what happens in the midterms. You mark my words. It's going to galvanize women and their allies. And this is the key. The key to today's video. And their allies to influence this next election cycle. There's a trap being laid. And a lot of conservatives, especially women, aren't seeing it. And I would be neglecting my duties if I didn't point this out. There are a lot of people on the left joining people on the right in North America saying, yeah, Biden's horrible, Biden's terrible, he's this, he's that, he's calling him names, all this kind of stuff. See, what they've done is they've done a little bit of move the goalpost. See, it's not their ideas, it's not their plans, it's not their way of seeing the world that's wrong. It's Joe Biden specifically, and if we can get rid of Joe Biden, then everything will be better. See, the right believes that, but the right believes that with Joe Biden goes the whole policies of the left and all of the entire group. You see, the left is saying, well, we'll get rid of Biden. We'll get rid of Biden. He's lost it. He can't lead. But they're going to do something different. And this is where the men in my audience need to pay attention. They're going to do something different, especially the older men. We've just begun a series over the Patreon channel talking about threats to men, specifically grid down, shit hits the fan, total collapse. This is beginning now, and people need to wake up and see it. There's an article out that I need everybody to read. I'm going to give you the link to it. Unhealthy princess syndrome. I know that's not a real popular way of talking about this. It's not very popular these days to say anything negative ever about any kind of a woman ever. But this is who they're going to replace Joe Biden with. This is who they're going to replace Joe Biden with. The young gay man. The ally. You see, this level of trust is what women are going to need after having the right taken away from them. And do women trust gay men? Implicitly. In fact, it's been scientifically proven that straight women of all stripes, both conservative and liberal, inherently, implicitly, biologically are wired to trust and believe anything a gay man says. You see, the military has known this for a long time. For a very long time, and they have used this tactic, and they have used this technique to break people. Believe it or not. Women of all stripes inherently, automatically trust gay men because they don't see them as a threat or any kind of a predator. Because that, of course, is the unwritten rule, the subtext of the feminist agenda, is that all sex is a predator-prey relationship. All heterosexual sex is a predator-prey relationship. And this guy did multiple experiments. I'll give you the link to this. He used online random people that didn't know each other. And he did multiple studies, and he saw in virtually every single study that advice about life, advice about politics, advice about dating, advice about business matters, home matters, no matter what it is, especially straight women, implicitly, automatically trust everything a gay man says. And what better advantage could you have with 52% of the population of a country than that implicit level of trust simply because of your perceived sexuality? I'll give you this article and you can read it. It's truly frightening. It is truly frightening. You see, this is going to be the role assigned to anyone who's, well, I guess all men, really. These will be the authorized forms of a man you can be. Any other form won't be authorized. You can be a monk that has no interest in relationships with anybody. You can be a John, and this is probably the most controversial one, the guy who pays for relationships. You can be the dutiful beta husband that has all the right opinions about all the recent things, Ukraine and guns and all this and abortion. And you might luck out and you might be able to have relations once a month if you're lucky. Or you can go the full Harold from The Getaway and you can be the cuckold husband that has no rights whatsoever, whose wife can do whatever she wants to. Or you can be what they would prefer you to be, gay. See the alpha male? Nope. Absolutely not authorized. Demonized, and the problem with society. The root of all evil everywhere. That's going to be the key. And yesterday we literally talked about this. Yesterday. About the situation, money problems, a couple. He can't find a decent job. She's offered a really high-paying job, but the high-paying job has a problem with it. And he's just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. And maybe something even worse. It's really weird that was the subject of the video yesterday, and now we see this. A long time ago, I put these two images together about how people, when they get older, they become more conservative. And how the Democrats, the liberals in North America, had to continually be dipping into a younger and younger group in this blue pool to the left. And they were running out. Well, guess what? Guess what? A whole bunch of purple water is rolling right back into this now because of what just happened at the Supreme Court. And don't think that might not influence things here in Florida. Don't think that this might not be something that Nikki Fried grabs onto, along with the idea that, look, she's suing the federal government over gun rights. You can't say that she's anti-gun. People want their drugs, especially as things get worse and worse and worse. They need their escape. This is emblematic, the legalization of marijuana with any other mind-altering substance. The governor of Florida is currently seen as being against that, against anything that might make you happy. You add in cryptocurrency. If that does rebound, I don't see it rebounding in the next 4 months. But if it would, and if she could get on board with this, saying, hey, look, what about all these sex workers? You're putting them at risk with this decision. You see, you can't even use the P word anymore to talk about sex workers. It begins with PRO. Apparently, you can't say that anymore. That's a canceled term. But I'm going to call this right now. I'm going to call this right now, right here. This is their replacement, and this is why. They just had the ruling on the guns that Clarence Thomas had said something to the effect that it has to pass, gun laws have to pass some type of a constitutional test, historical, traditional constitutional test, and then this is going to be the fire that lights the left for the midterms. This is what they're doing. Join us. Join us over at Patreon. Probably the next 2 days, we're going to put up another video, part 2, of how men can deal with these threats, how they can protect themselves, how they can choose the right friends, and how to point out the wrong ones. Here's a little hint. You don't want to be 3 degrees from anyone who is part of the gay agenda, meaning no friends who have friends. I know that's a very high bar, but no friends who have friends that are part of the gay agenda. They're going to light this on fire. You mark my words, there is going to be a huge backlash for this. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.